so scared.
Hey everyone, today we're checking out the Insta360 X4. So I need to start by saying that I bought this myself. Insta360 did not send it to me. It is not sponsored. I paid full price for this X4 camera. So in the box, you get the camera, which is excellent. You also have a little pouch that you can use to store the camera, which is great. You also have some standard lens guards. So these are plastic ones. You can tell by the blue dot. I've already installed it, which is here on the camera. And also there is a USB-C to C cable. It also comes with a thermo grip cover, so it's kind of like a case which goes around the camera. Thermo grip cover, maybe because it gets warm, not too sure why it's called that, but yeah, it comes with a little case. And then you have a cleaning cloth, you have some stickers, and also your documentation. So the first thing I did obviously was to install all the protective stuff onto my Insta360 X4 here.
Oh my god, I'm so scared.
I put the lens guard on and I also bought the optional screen protector, and there's a good reason for that because I actually have the X2, so not the X3 but the even older one, the X2, and this screen is much smaller so I didn't really need a screen protector for it, but I have dropped this camera and it landed on this outer lens here. Whenever I was filming with the X2, I would be making sure that I was pointing this side of the camera to the action, which is really annoying because it's 360 video and you never know where the action is going to happen. So if I happen to capture some action with this side, then there is a little black mark on the footage. So having experienced that, I have put all the protective stuff on the X4 as soon as I unboxed it, and I am very, very happy that they have these lens guards here. I would have still preferred the lens itself to be removable because the lens guards still degrade the quality a little bit and they do protrude quite a bit, but yeah, maybe next one. The screen protector kit is pretty cool. It comes with a alignment tool, so you just pop it on top and basically you just drop the screen protector in the rectangular section here, and they give you a tool to just push out the air bubbles, and it's pretty perfect. So I got myself a 512 gigabyte micro SD card here. It's probably overkill. You probably don't need this much, but just in case, and it wasn't that expensive anyway, so let's pop it in. So the X4 says that the 512 gigabyte SD card I inserted can record for 6 hours and 51 minutes at 8K at 30 frames per second. So obviously the battery won't last that long, but still pretty good. So let's jump to some comparisons between the X2 and the X4. So I did shoot a quick side-by-side between the X2 and the X4. Now, as you can see, the X2, the image is a bit softer because it is shooting in 5.7K. The X4 does shoot in 8K. Now, for both images, I did reframe using the D-Warp or the linear option, which sacrifices the most resolution because you are cropping in to make it look like a rectangular image. If you find the image to be a bit soft, you can maybe try Ultra or try Mega. Mega is the widest and that would sacrifice the least resolution. So if you want a sharper looking image, you would go for the Ultra or the Mega look instead. Now, the important thing to note is it doesn't really matter which one you choose. This is just for preview purposes. So if you want to preview it in D-Warp, then that's what it looks like. But even if you choose D-Warp, afterwards in the app, you can still reframe it. Now, I know that this is not a fair comparison. The X2 is quite a few years older than the X4. So the X4 now shoots in 8K while the X2 can only do 5.7K. And I think the footage shows very clearly that the X4 is a lot better than the X2. In terms of accessories, the old ones do still work. So I have here the Bullet Time selfie stick. So this thing extends out to become that invisible selfie stick. So I think this is 1.1 meters, I believe. This is the stick that comes with the Bullet Time accessory. So this is that Bullet Time stick here. So you have the option of either attaching it on this end to basically extend the selfie stick, or you can attach it at 90 degrees. So this is when you do the Bullet Time feature where you have the stick there and you kind of swing this thing around. Conveniently, it also has a tripod like that at the bottom. I would recommend getting this one. So because I did have the old X2, the only new accessory I bought is this monkey tail mount. The accessory itself is not new for the X4. It's kind of been around for a while. But the reason why I got it is because I have been shooting with the X2 for a few years now, and I've noticed that every time I go out, I would never know what I would end up mounting it on. So when I go traveling, for example, I don't know if I'm gonna ride a bike or if I'm gonna take the luge, you know, in Queenstown or something. Having something like this means that I can kind of mount it on anything. So think of it as like kind of like the Gorilla Pod, where you can kind of wrap it around, you know, poles and so on. So if it is a bike, for example, I can wrap it around the handlebar, and it makes it more versatile what I can mount the camera on. So let's go through some of the settings here. So I'm going to talk about the everyday modes that I would use the majority of the time. And I really think there's only three that I would use every day. And the first one is the 8K30 here. So obviously we bought this 8K camera. We're going to shoot in the highest resolution possible the majority of the time. So I would leave it on 8K 30 frames per second, especially if I'm shooting outdoors. But there's another thing you need to know about is during low light, you would want to shoot in 5K 30 frames per second. So for low light, this is a bit better. So whether it's indoors or it's getting a bit dark, that's the mode I would switch to. The third mode that you need to worry about or think about is 5K in 60 frames per second. So if you want to slow down the footage afterwards, I would switch to this mode and shoot in 60 frames per second. Now, of course, Insta360 have a lot of specialized modes that you can get to by tapping this camera icon here. So things like burst photos here. You can also do star lapses, and then time shift and bullet time. These are great if there's a specific look that you want. The problem with shooting with these is that it's a dead giveaway that you're using a 360 camera. People see bullet time, people see a time shift, for example. They know straight away, oh, this person bought a 360 camera, an X4 or whatever it is, and that's how they did it. So the magic is lost a little bit. So that's why I personally like to just shoot it in regular video mode in 360 and then do my own reframing afterwards. That keeps the secret sauce a little bit so that people that watch it kind of don't know how it was shot. And I think that's the magic that we want to go for. So I just said that I would avoid using those fancy video modes like time shift and bullet time because it's a dead giveaway. But there is one mode, time lapse, which I think is very useful because it will shoot a 360 video time lapse and then you can reframe it in post. So if you, for example, want to pan the image left to right as the time lapse changes, then this is the mode to use. So after taking this out and shooting for a little bit, these are some of the settings that I would recommend you use. So to go to the settings, we go to the gear icon here and we scroll to image settings, and I recommend you set it to H.265 for video encoding to reduce the file size a little bit. Bitrate set to high. Video sharpness, so I shot everything in low initially and then I saw it looked really soft. Not a huge problem because you can add sharpness afterwards in post, but if you want it straight out of the camera, I think medium is a good middle ground. So if you don't want to edit anything, medium is the way to go. And then anti-flicker set to auto, and yeah, those are the basic settings that I would shoot this at. So I need to talk about overheating for a little bit here. Now the camera never actually overheated, so I never got a message on the screen saying it was overheating. I recorded for about 7 to 10 minutes at 8K 30. And it was fine, the video saved fine and everything, but I did notice that after making that recording, I couldn't start another one straight away. I pressed the record button and nothing happened. I changed to different modes and nothing happened. I switched to 5K and then I could record. So I think that's the camera overheating. Now, I wish it showed a message instead of just not doing anything when I pressed the record button, and that was very confusing. But overall, I think this is a pretty good purchase. So if you are a solo filmmaker and you are traveling by yourself, sometimes it's impossible for you to get certain angles, but with this, it makes it a little bit easier to achieve those crazy angles or to film yourself. for example. So yep, I'll be using this for quite some time.